Kunjabiyari. Good morning. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 We can chant this one together. Narayanam namaskritya narotchaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayam tirayet ashtakariyeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama-shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. Translation together. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human, goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, for regular attendance in the classes of all time, by rendering of service to the world, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of God. Praise transcendent songs. Okay, so I haven't really been around for a while, so I've missed a couple of classes, but I believe that we are in chapter 23, which is called Devahuti's Lamentation. And we are doing text 12 to, 35. So we can just start by reading the translations. Anyone who's excited.
A lot of them are dead. So Maitreya continued, "O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercises with power and instantly produces aerial mansion, travel at his will."
It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase in the course of time.
The castle was fully equipped with all the necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweet, pleased humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics.
Palace looked charming with beads, with beds, couches, fans, and couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories.
Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was emerald coral daisies.
Text 18. The palace was very beautiful, with its coral threshold at the entrance and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its dome of sapphires.
Choices ruby set its diamond walls here possessed eyes. It was furnished with wonderful things, greatly valuable pieces of gold.
Here and there in that palace were molded 5 swans, as well as artificial swans, so lifelike, real swat, goes above them, and thinking that live birds like itself, thus how it's vibrating sound.
Castle had pleasure grounds, wrestling chambers, bedrooms, and outer yards designed with high comfort, always causing astonishment to Sage himself.
Sons he gets ready with her. Bessie to assess. I would open fires and then mount. Or just start.
The lotus eye.
No, continue.
The lotus eye devotee accepted the order of her husband because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair. That she did not look attractive.
Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt. Her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake, which contained the sacred waters of the Saraswati.
In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth, fragrant like lotuses.
Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do."
The girls, being very respectful, they were brought her forth, and after bathing her in valuable oils and juices, they gave her fine, new, spotless clothes, cloth to cover her body.
They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels, which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and distributed in a wedding called Asalon.
In the mirror, she beheld her own reflection. Her body was free all dirt, and she was a garment, dressed in unsoiled robes and decorated with auspicious marks. Selah, she would serve merely respected by the maid.
Her entire body had been decorated all over what pointed to women. Wore a special necklace, pocket, there were dangles on her wrists.
About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels. She was further adorned with precious pearl necklace, auspicious substance.
Shine. Shining her eyes are loaded. Lost you. She thought of her great husband, rested Skarbon, was very dear to her. She, along with all her servants, once
She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 beings in the presence of her husband, and to witness his power.
Okay, thank you. So this is basically just describing this very opulent um, palace that Kardama Muni just manifests out of material air for his wife. I believe before this, they were just discussing how Devotee was serving Kardama Muni and how she kind of just didn't care about her bodily needs, and all she really cared about was serving her husband. So we're going to look at text 12. Maitreya Uvacha Priyaya Priyam Anvichan Kardamo Yogamastita Vimanam kamagam shatas Taryeva virachi karat Matriya uvacha Priyaya priyam anvichan Kardamo yogamastita Vimanam kamagam shatas Taryeva virachi karat. Please chant. Not everyone all at once.
Maitreya Vacha, Priyaya Yamanvicham,
Okay, we can read the translation together. O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Karma exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion at the triangle of his home. Does anyone want to read the purport? It's very short.
Here, the words Yogam Ashtita are significant. The sage Cardinal was completely perfect in yoga. As the result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved, and after this one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Cardinal Mooney to create a mansion in the air, according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He had once created the palace, which is described in the following verses.
Okay, thank you. So in this purport, it's saying that Kadama Muni is completely perfect in yoga, right? And there are 8 kinds of perfection in yoga. It's briefly mentioned here, some of them, like you can bend space in order to like grab something, or you can become smaller than the smallest thing, or larger than the largest thing. You can increase your physical size and your power. In fact, this is something that demons would like to do. You know, I believe Hiranyaksha, he used this particular mystic power in order to fight Rahadev. I was going to say Vamana, Rahadev. You can also use these mystic powers in order to bring other people under your influence. Like you can actually take away their free will and bring them under your influence. And what Kadama Muni used is he used the mystic power of creating material objects by manipulating the potencies of Maya. So he was just able to manifest this beautiful, opulent palace for his wife. But in the purport, it says that this was not a big deal. It says there, it's not very wonderful for Kadama Muni to create a mansion because he's a great devotee of the Lord, and the only perfection that he's trying to achieve is the perfection of spiritual life, right? So he's got these mystical powers, Kadama Muni, right? But what is the point of these mystical powers? Do we practice yoga in order to achieve these mystical powers? Are we trying to obtain mystical powers through our yoga practice? Some do, yeah.
No, because it's just sense gratification.
On a really cool level. Yeah, imagine like being able to levitate and like controlling other people for sure. So then if it's just sense gratification on like a really cool level, why was Kardama Muni practicing yoga? Why was he trying to obtain these mystic powers, Jonathan? Yeah. Masika Prabhu, did you have something?
And he was wanting peace was quiet. Thousands of people have that for serving himself. And yeah, he wanted to do something. It's just a small thing. Like actually for the son.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe they had like 12 daughters, and then he gave her a son because she realized that she asked for children, and then she had all these daughters, and she realized that okay, these daughters, they're going to get married and they're going to go live with their husbands, and then she's going to be all alone. No one is going to be there to protect her, so she asked her husband for a son, but just not my topic. So you mentioned that this is Satya Yuga. It's funny because I wanted to touch on the different yugas actually. Who knows what yuga means? Age, yes. So yuga is age. So Kadama Muni is practicing yoga because of the specific age that he's in. Because every age has a different dharma, right? Who can tell me what dharma means?
Spiritual
Yeah.
life.
It's kind of like the process in which you try to attain the supreme love of God, right? Yoga Dharma. Yes, Rasika Prabhu.
And also something that's something first. Yuga Dharma characteristic to serve.
Yeah, that's true. That's literally what I have here. So the nature of the soul is to search for happiness, right? But that procedure, that process as to how we look for happiness, it's different for each person, it's different for each age, right? So who for 5 points can tell me what the 4 yugas are? 10 points.
Dwarka Yuga. I don't know.
That's
Satya Yuga. Kali Yuga.
yes. Good. Thank you. And then for bonus points, who can tell me what the Yuga Dharma is of each of these ages? Yes, Jonathan. Okay, which one is chanting?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's correct. So, yes. Mhm. Deity worship, yeah. So Satya Yoga is Tapasya, yeah, Ashtanga yoga, meditation, regulated yoga practice. This is what Kadama Muni is doing because he's in Satya Yoga. So this is how in that yuga you will obtain liberation. In Treta Yuga, it's sacrifices, opulent yagyas. In Dwapara Yuga, it's deity worship. And in Kali Yuga, it is Harinam Sankirtan, right? Yes, Bruce.
I'm just curious why those are regardless of like, is it further explained?
Why? Those are the specific ones? Rasika Prabhu?
Because it's the way the Lord designed. cycle characteristics are suited for that, or vice versa. The Dharma is suited. It's vastly living paradox. It's like very stats. There is no written mission. Prabhupada talked about this. Very systemic trading, then things change. Necessary external.
Each age became more degraded. Yeah.
Finally, why everything down? Because for that, people had remembered it.
Memorize, yeah. Okay. Because it's the will of Krishna. One thing to remember, though, with these different dharmas is that they're all Vaishnava processes, right? They're all processes of Vaishnava etiquette process. So just because our dharma is different to like Satya Yuga, it doesn't make it any less, you know? It's just time, place, and circumstance. You know, in our particular yuga, we don't have the memory, as Rasika Prabhu mentioned, and we don't have the patience in order to like sit for hours, days, years on end, just concentrate, trying to control our mind. So all we can actually do in the age of Kali is Sankirtan, because that is the easiest process in which we can obtain devotional service. But the point is that all of these different yuga dharmas is to obtain devotional service. It all leads to bhakti yoga, and it all leads to attaining liberation. Okay? Any questions or comments about that? No? Okay. So in the purport, it says that the sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. Okay. So my question was, does a devotee require these mystic powers that Kardama Muni now has in order to approach the Lord? Is that the goal of yoga? So I did a quick little Google search as to what is the meaning of yoga. What can you tell me? What do you think the meaning of yoga is? Jonathan.
I think if you Google yoga, you're going to create a hot yoga class. That's what I think.
Yeah, I decided to skip over that. It said that yoga is a mind and body practice that can build strength and flexibility. That's perfect reaction. Yeah, yoga is so much more than that. Yoga is so much more than just trying to control the mind and the body in order to like build strength.
It is building strength and flexibility, but not just physical.
That's what I'm saying. It's so much more than that. Yeah. So the actual purpose of yoga is to attain liberation. This is something that we don't seem to understand in this age. So yoga is actually a very mechanical process, and it's laid out in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6. That's the yoga chapter. It's laid out as to how you should actually follow yoga in order to attain liberation, right? So there are these steps in the Bhagavad Gita that tells you how you need to actually properly practice yoga. And when you take steps, you're obviously going higher and higher, right? No one's really, well, I guess you can go lower, but we're going higher. So when we take these steps, we're going higher and higher so that we can achieve liberation, right? So you have to go to like a secluded place, and you have to sit in a certain posture, and you have to breathe in a certain way. You have to practice celibacy. This is something that we struggle with, right? In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, this is how Krishna explains how yoga should be practiced. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities, and fixing the mind on one point. Show of hands, who can do that for like 5 minutes? I couldn't even do that. No, it's really hard to do that in this age. We don't have the patience to do that. So it just shows how advanced, and I wanted to say insane, but not insane, just how austere these devotees of Lord Krishna are in the age of Satya Yuga. So there's a lot of rules and regulations that come with needing to practice, to properly practice yoga. And then it all leads to the control of the mind. That's the ultimate purpose, right? We want to control the mind so that we can concentrate. So once our mind is controlled, we are able to concentrate on the Paramatma in the heart, right? And we focus that concentration in order to become absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, in order to attain samadhi, right? So that is actually what we're trying to do when we practice yoga. When we properly practice yoga, it's not just to breathe so that we can, in our own way, control our minds and de-stress. It's so that we can concentrate on the Paramatma, focus that concentration, and enter samadhi, which is just constant thoughts on Krishna. So all these yogas that we know about, Ashtanga yoga, which is actually the yoga that is practiced in Satya Yuga, Pranayama yoga, which is the breath work, they all serve a purpose, but we're just not practicing them to their full capacity in the way that we can attain liberation. So what has happened is that yoga has been perverted, as everything in this Kali Yuga age, as everything in the material universe has been perverted, right? So we kind of forgot the purpose of yoga. And now we just think of yoga as this thing that kind of makes us feel good, you know, we drink a little ginger shot, we do a little yoga, and like, oh, I'm so healthy, you know? So that's what we do with yoga now. So now it's just this thing that's very self-serving, you know, we've completely lost the point as to what we were supposed to be practicing yoga for. Now it's we do a little asanas, some postures, you know, we do a little pranayama, some techniques, but we don't go deep into it. We don't understand the actual nature of yoga and why we're practicing it. So I'm going kind of hard on yoga. I'm not saying that yoga doesn't work. Definitely works. I actually want to show you a little video of yoga in the Kali Yuga, and how even just like practicing it just a little bit, you'll see that yoga does actually give you mystical powers. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure everyone's heard of Wim Hof. I call him Wim because I'm from South Africa. Wim sounds weird.
Yeah.
No? Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, he's the Iceman, yeah. That people call him like superhuman because he uses pranayama in order to like control his heart rate and then like sit in ice spots for 45 minutes, 2 hours. He sits in, okay, I'll just let you watch the video, but yeah, he does yoga and he practices pranayama breathing techniques in order to do all of the amazing things that we are so fascinated by, but actually it's in the Vedas, it's not such a big deal. You know, if you were to practice yoga properly, this wouldn't seem like such a great feat. So yeah, let's take a look.
This is Wim Hof. Just go into this, all right? Wait a minute. Oh. Go down. Slowly. Follow your breath. Follow your breath. Don't think about the camera, the speed. Good. Now, everybody, please
You learn to feel
Oh, okay. So you can just he's a character. You can go to 1 minute 29 seconds.
After decades of emerging body temperature, he developed his own patent called the Wim-Hof method.
is about bringing techniques that makes of your natural health, your mindset, and your happy home. Straight the cardiovascular for that.
He claimed that it can strengthen the body's immune system and help cure things like depression, anxiety, pain, and even fight off diseases.
Oh, okay. I think you can pause there for now. So I just found it very interesting that he called it the Wim Hof method because we're gonna go back to the because this is not something that's new, you know, it's just something that's forgotten. This is in the Vedas, this is explained. And now he's practicing this yoga, which is great. I mean, it really does help. It does have health benefits. It does really help with stress and anxiety and depression. But it's not something that's new. It's not something that he came up with. And he's not fully practicing yoga, you know? So he's only just really scratching the surface. And I want you to listen to something he says at 3 minutes, 20 seconds.
This is Wim Hof.
We are now able to get 100%.
Oh, can you go back a little bit?
But they don't tell me. My prediction is that we are now able to get 100% of our brain. We are able to defy information, actually the force of disease. And that we will change mental health care. Natural ways, we are able to outbalance any hormonal or mental disorder. I tell you once again, any mental disorder.
Wim was important to church in every corner of the globe, having enormous success so far.
Here we go.
Just in the second hand,
Okay, we can stop there.
millions of social
So he's not wrong in what he's saying. He's just, his vision is limited because he doesn't have the full picture. He's saying that we can obtain 100% control over our mind, and we can, but not only through this very limited practice that he's doing. Because he's only doing one little section of yoga. He's not doing the full practice. He doesn't understand that the ultimate goal is to achieve liberation, is to achieve love for Krishna, and it's not for our own vanities. Oh, we're going to cure mental health disorders and things like that. That's just kind of like a byproduct, as what Jonathan was saying, you know? So he kind of understands, but it's very limited. So it shows that how limited our understanding of the yoga practice actually is, because we get that it's meant to be bigger than what it is, but we don't actually understand just how big the yoga practice can be. Yes. Oh, the yoga practice?
Going to the springs.
Yes.
I was going to say, Wim Hof, he's actually one of the guys that got me because I started out with breath work and I did ice bath every single day. And so I feel like that he's doing something great. He's American actor. He's making this yoga practice Americanized, where he to get into it. Then they want to like, oh man, really That's how I get such a good connection to the body, you're like, want to go more purified. So I mean, I feel like that how since it actually is a great couple. There's even breath work on called DMT breathing, and it's more focused for people that are kind of intoxicated. But then what happens is they have that experience, and then they want to find other ways, and feel that. So that's why I feel like that. Yeah, he doesn't not completely hit me at all, but I have watched a lot of his videos. He does know a lot about it. He does know about the and yes, he tried to reach the mass rather than just let you the point yoga experience. Most Americans are like cut off of that because they think it's of yoga design. So then he comes in here and he's like, well, breath work. It's not pranayama. But I didn't know it was pranayama until I took a yoga class where I was certified. I never knew it was pranayama. So I feel like in this day and age, that makes it us American Western, but it gets exposed, which ultimately led to so, his material actually brought me kind of to Christian. In a way, got started, I started to feel them physiological shifts.
Yeah.
And, like, well, there's got to be more.
Yeah, thank you. That's true. And I agree that he's doing a great service. I was just using him as an example as to show that, there's more. He's just kind of on the surface and there's more to it. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree that he is doing a great service in really bringing it to the masses, and having them realize that yoga is more than just doing some stretches and then feeling great afterwards. There's like these actual changes that happens when you practice yoga in the way that it's meant to be practiced.
Yeah, I just had the question. I always said it. I had depression, I had anxiety, all these things. And through breath work and also feel, I can got rid of all of it. That's still the breath work. And so I definitely, it helps a lot with my body being myself.
Yeah, you just like hit me straight to the end of my my class actually. No, it's fine. I was gonna say, all of this, me saying that yoga and like achieving mystic powers is kind of like a distraction from our practice. It doesn't mean that you should stop practicing yoga. It just means that you should practice yoga in conjunction with bhakti. So you should just understand that these mystic powers that you achieve while you're practicing yoga it shouldn't actually be a distraction, it should be an inspiration. Because in achieving these mystical powers, you're progressing in your practice. You're going higher and higher, and you're getting closer to liberation. You should just remember that that is the ultimate goal. Because as soon as vanity comes in, then it's like you're going to get knocked down, So that's why it's actually just easier to practice bhakti. You should just practice bhakti yoga. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop practicing other forms of yoga. I'm just saying do it in conjunction with bhakti yoga, because all these other processes of trying to attain Krishna, it all leads to bhakti. So you might as well just go straight to bhakti and then do the other things as well. Instead of taking the long route, trying to do everything, and then eventually you end up at bhakti yoga anyway. So just go straight to bhakti yoga and then do it as well. So that's basically the point that I was trying to make, because the way that yoga is described in the Bhagavad Gita, in the way that it's meant to be practiced, it's just logistically impossible for us to do that. I mean, just to go to secluded place, we couldn't do that for longer than like a week, because then we're just stuck with ourselves and our thoughts. And it's like, okay, I need to speak to other people. I need distraction. So just logistically, practicing yoga in the way that it's meant to be practiced is not really possible. So practice yoga in conjunction with bhakti yoga. Like even Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, he rejected the idea of Ashtanga yoga because he understood that he couldn't control his mind. His mind was too restless. So what to think that we can just practice yoga and attain liberation? We can't. So we have to do it in conjunction with bhakti yoga. Yes. Please correct me.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo that John Baptist that special devotion really not many things all this program, warrior, that's the beauty of Bhakti. If you add Krishna, every especially, and let's not forget the book, Karma and Everything. They did their spirits and the spirit in Vishnu spirit, right? Not just the spirit. He's inflected a spiritual that's very special part of the almost very
Thank you. Yes, Rasika Prabhu.
Another thing, that was, but, that bhakti itself is ocean of the heart. Telling you that the way you offer you, way they offer bhakti, bring you, they can prove that. The bhakti that you hold through practicing meditation. Prabhupada tells us, it's like, that aspect of that is possible. I mean, you'll get the benefit physically, whatever you do, but transcending.
That's funny. I have a quote here from Bhagavad Gita 6:36 that actually echoes that. It says, "A Krishna conscious person can easily achieve the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious." So you have to instill bhakti into everything that you do in order to attain liberation. Okay. Yes.
One more thing to add on that. All of these practices have one goal and bring forth a awaken to bhakti, devotion,
Yes, exactly. So all the yoga dharmas, the tapasya, the deity worship, the what was the other one? Chanting, yes. Sacrifices, yeah. And the Ashtanga yoga. All of these, it's meant to lead to bhakti yoga. It's meant to take us to bhakti yoga. It's meant to take us to Krishna. So we know, I mean, Prabhupada has his book, Topmost Yoga, right? Bhakti Yoga, Topmost Yoga. So we know the ultimate goal, devotional service. We want to serve Lord Krishna because in serving the Lord, our mind is always concentrated on him, right? So when we practice yoga or we do deity worship or all these things, we're trying to control the mind in order to think of the Lord. But in practicing devotional service, because we are serving the Lord, our mind is just automatically on the Lord. And that in that way, we are able to become free from the cycle of birth and death because we are always concentrated on the Lord's form, on his activities, on everything that he does. So that is why bhakti is like an instant form of liberation. I feel like you're itching for it.
Yoga, these forms of like stretching yoga and movement, they're load of goodness and they help cleanse our physical bodies and our subtle bodies. And by cleansing that, we're more inclined to be able to receive bhakti. So they're beautiful practices, but they're still real, not the way.
Yeah.
But,
This is true. These forms of yoga, they have their benefits. And Prabhupada wasn't against teaching yoga. You know, he was like, if this is how you bring them to bhakti, then this is how you bring them. You know, he wasn't against teaching the asanas and all these things. He was just against using it for material gain. So yeah, that's the only thing. We don't want to get distracted. We want to achieve liberation. We want to go back home, back to Godhead, right? Yes.
That the topic, I just was hearing about fiction, everyone. Well, we used to be well, now it's an area of yeah, that you would, would have been nice to put the prompt, the entire verse is followed. Somebody has a picture generator with all the prompts. Yeah. Because it was so like seven stories. It would be nice to see what it has.
It's funny.
Just put the entire verses down to
I don't know which text it was, but even in Bhagavatam it says that Kadima Muni was amazed at this beautiful palace that he had manifested. So yeah, it is amazing. We can only really imagine what it must have looked like. Okay, so to summarize, does the devotee or require mystical powers in order to achieve liberation? Do mystic powers benefit the devotee? Yes, in the way that it shows us that we're making spiritual progress, as long as we don't aspire for mystical powers and we don't allow it to deviate us, and we realize that the ultimate goal is love of Godhead and use this process in order to achieve that through bhakti yoga, then yeah, mystical powers is okay, that's good, right? But in this age, we just do Sankirtan, right? Bhakti yoga and Sankirtan. And I believe that this summer is going to be a Sankirtan summer, so you guys are set up for liberation. Jai to your Ashram. Do we have any questions or comments? Oh, yeah.
I just probably about the health first, and you know, have a good body, have what you down chance. Your height and all that stuff. You're not gonna be able to.
Yeah. When I hear about health first, I'm always reminded of I don't know who said this. I heard it in Mayapur, but I have no idea who said it. It's he said, "We are not the body, but the body is the body." So that means that we should not identify with the body, but we should still take care of the body. Because how can we perform our services and our duties if we're not taking care of our bodies? So our bodies, like taking care of our bodies, it's also a service to Krishna. So yeah, health is very important. Okay, Contra Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Prabhupada ki. Good. Okay.
Bhagwan ki jai.